Kevin and I, that's what we go for. And in fact, we'll do one day we'll do Sam's Club and then we'll do Costco. So we'll go to Sam's Club and we'll make our way around. And if you time it right, you can get out of there, go to Costco, make your way around. And you don't have to pay for lunch because you're so full. And I'm not kidding. If you make at least 2 rounds, and sometimes you can make 3 because they forget your face, you can actually not have to pay for lunch. So it's pretty cool. But for some people, like my wife, going to Costco or going to Sam's is not necessarily the funnest thing ever, right? She, in fact, and I'm just going to kind of demonstrate, when we go park, and then we'll walk up, and she's fine. Now, my wife is the nicest person you'll ever meet. And people love her. You know, everybody gets along with her. In fact, if I go somewhere without her, people are asking, where's your wife, where's your wife? So, but when she crosses the threshold of Costco, she changes into a completely different person. She really does. So we're going, you show your sign, you show your badge or whatever, and you walk in, and she literally turns into this Viking woman, right? She has the armor, the breastplate, everything, and I'm so glad that Samson they don't sell swords or whatever, because it would be a real mess. But she's like this. She goes in, and she's like, you go over there, and you go conquer this area over here. And then I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to conquer this area over here. It's very Viking. And for some people, that's the experience that you get. That's the experience they have. They don't like Sam's, right? Some of you are shaking heads. You don't like walking into Sam's. There's too many people. It's crowded. On certain days, you can't even get around. It makes people angry. Now, there's one time that I actually worked at Sam's Club as the hot dog pizza guy. And if you've ever gone there and you've eaten the pizza or whatever, you know that the hot dogs have been rolling on the little roller for about 2 days. They're nasty. But for some odd reason, when people get in there, that Viking-type mentality, they want to get all of their food and their groceries and everything, but they're thinking, I'm hungry as well, so I got to go get some pizza or hot dogs or whatever. But while you're working there, you experience people throwing hot dogs at you if it's bad, especially with ketchup. I've actually had somebody throw a hot dog at me with ketchup and mustard while I'm working there. So my experience there as a customer is completely different as my experience working there. And not just that, but I had 2 employees that they would talk about the customers as bitter, as a negative experience for them. And I told myself, I'm not going to, I'm better than this. I'm better than this. I'm not going to allow their negative to get to me. But for some odd reason, after a while, their negativity got to me. And I started entering into this drama of their life, and entering into this drama and started to develop this unforgiveness and bitterness, right? And so what I want to speak to you today is about the prodigal son, but I want to take a different approach it from a different lens, so to speak, right? Thus the sunglasses. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an interactive type lesson to show you what unforgiveness does in your life using sunglasses. And then we're going to jump into the story of the prodigal son and see what Scripture says about unforgiveness in our life and what we can actually do about it. But I'm thinking that most of y'all have heard the story of the prodigal son or a variation of it. So the reason why I gave you the sandpaper is every time I'm going to mention four different things that can cause unforgiveness or bitterness or anger. And every time I do, what I want you to do is take your sunglasses off and scratch and you're like, oh, I like these sunglasses. I want you to scratch half of one lens. And then I mention another one, you scratch the rest of that lens, and we move forward. Yeah? All right, so the very first one, here's an example I know that all of you have had. And this is one that while I was in school irritated the heck out of me. Irritated the heck out of me. Okay, it's not only when teachers give you busy work, right? It's when they're at the very last moment, right before the bell rings, right before a holiday break, they give you homework. Right? Right? That causes bitterness. That causes, I don't know if it does for you, but it definitely caused bitterness for me towards my teacher. So what I want you to do is take off your sunglasses and just scratch half of one of those lenses. Get really good. Just get it really good. Scratch the heck out of it. Just half of it though. And then what I want you to do is, that should be good. Go ahead and put those back on. Now what you'll notice is that when you put that back on, it's just a little irritant. Nothing bad. It doesn't keep you from viewing anything outside there. I mean, you can still look around and pretty much see things for how they are. It's just a little irritant. So you're willing to deal with that. No big deal. Right? What about a situation of being bullied? Now, back before technology, bullying wasn't such a huge issue because it was based on your location. So you would just refuse to go to that location. That location was associated with people bullying you, or you being bullied or picked on, right? But today, because of technology, you have that bullying or that type of threat entering into your life. At your texts, or if you've ever experienced it, your text, your social media, so it's entering into your life. You don't even have to be in the location anymore. And this can cause a sense of being undervalued. And so go ahead and take off your glasses and scratch the rest of that lens and get really deep. Get it really good. Get it really good. And what I want you to do is go ahead and put those back on. And you'll notice that one of your eyes, the view through that lens is slightly distorted or almost even blocked, right? Slightly distorted or almost blocked. It's certainly not something that's pleasing. But you do have the other eye. You're fine, right? You're willing because you can still see through the other eye, but you don't have any depth perception. It's kind of loss of depth perception if you did a really good job of scratching it, right? But you're wearing this. You're wearing this, and these sunglasses represent this unforgiveness. So you're wearing this unforgiveness, and it's starting to collect in your vision, right? What about, oh my gosh, what about if your parents don't approve of your friends? Or they think you've been spending too much time with your friends, right? He's already getting ready to scratch his lens. Your parents don't approve it, and they say, we don't want you hanging out with them. Or we want you to stay with us for a little bit because you've been spending too much time with friends. That can cause a sense of injustice because you feel that you know better what's better for you than they do. Go ahead and scratch half of the other lens. Now, by this time, when you put those glasses back on, you'll notice that you have the blocked, distorted view in one eye, and then the second eye is starting to creep up into that second eye. So if you were to continue to wear these throughout the day, this would cause a lot of irritation because you're used to viewing things without anything in the way. And see, the way you scratched it, you have that peripheral view, but not necessarily a straight-on view, right? So it can cause an irritation. And the last one, go ahead and put those back on. The last one is if you have a good friend, right? And as the movie Frozen has taught us, right? You finish each other's sandwiches, right? You're so good with your friends, this best friend, but what happens if this friend backstabs you or goes to a party and doesn't invite you, right? This could definitely cause some type of unforgiveness. So what I want you to do, this last one, take off your glasses, scratch out the rest of the lens, and then put them back on. And do that as quick as you can. Now, you're doing a really good job there. Really getting it good. All right, go ahead and put those back on. And what you'll notice is a complete distortion through these lenses. If you did a good job you're wearing that unforgiveness and you did a good job at scratching, and this is the buildup of this bitterness or anger or unforgiveness, you'll notice that your view of the things around you were once clear, are now either distorted or blocked out. Right? You can go ahead and take those off. So forgiveness, this is a representation of how unforgiveness affects our life, or how it could affect our life. So forgiveness, the idea of forgiveness is actually pretty important. So we're going to see this. We're going to actually look into Scripture. And I didn't make you any copies today of the Scripture, but we're looking at the book of Luke, chapter 15, verses 25 through 32. And that is the story of the prodigal son. If you're not familiar with the prodigal son, here's the most brief, nutshell explanation of this story. You have two sons, a father. You have an older son and a younger son. The younger son says, hey, I want my inheritance. I want to go party. So he gets his inheritance. He leaves. He has a bad time. Lots of crazy stuff happens. He eventually comes back. The father celebrates. The son, the older son, the one that stayed, gets angry. Right? And that's where we pick up. That's where we pick up. So I'm just going to read this and I'm going to explain it. It's separated into 3 different paragraphs, and I think it's intentional. It says, meanwhile, the older son was in a field, so he'd been working all day, he's been sweating. It says, when he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So there's definitely a celebration or a party or something going on inside the house. So he called one of his servants and asked, he said, what's going on? Your brother has come back, he replied. Your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him safe and sound. He has him back safe and sound. Now, I don't know if y'all would react the same way, but if I get off work or out of school or get done with sports practice or whatever it is, and I come home and I hear music and there's something going on inside the house, and like Sticky Fingers Barbecue is catered to my house, I'm going in and I'm going to have a good time. I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to go have a good time, because that's exactly what's taking place here. You get home, you're worn out. You're worn out. There's food and there's music. I mean, this is awesome. I mean, I would love to come home to that, right? But if you are wearing this unforgiveness and your view of the world and the people and yourself are distorted, the way you react to normal things is going to be different. So let's see how the son reacts. It says the older brother became angry and refused to go in. So he's throwing a hissy fit right off the bat. So his father went out and pleaded with him, come on in. But he answered his father. He says, look, all these years I've been slaving for you, and I never disobeyed your orders. Been a good son. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I can go party with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him. You get barbecued for him, and you have a party for him. Like, what the heck? Now, at this point, we have a decision. And this son certainly has a decision. He can live in this distorted view, or he can grasp the truth, but he really doesn't know what the truth is until it's presented to him. Okay? So let's see how the father reacts. The father could react in anger and say, how dare you? How dare you? But he doesn't. This is how he reacts. This is the last part. It says, my son, the father said, you're always with me, and everything I have is yours. I want to repeat that because it's an important point. He says, you're always with me, and everything I have, it's yours. He's mentioning this he's stating this as a truth. It's a fact. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours, he was dead, or at least we thought he was dead. I mean, we didn't hear back from him. We don't know where he is. And now we realize he's alive. He was lost, obviously, didn't know where he was, but now he's found. He's with family. He's come back. He's come back to family. I mean, why are you living in this distorted view of what's really going on? So his father confronted him with truth. So he has a decision at that point to remain in that distortion or unforgiveness and bitterness, or to embrace the truth because he's been confronted with it. So I have 3 questions for you. And this is where it really brings it home. And I've been asking these questions ever since I started writing this lesson of myself. And I'm finding it still speaks to me today. Where in your life is there unforgiveness? Where in your life is there unforgiveness? And how has it changed your perspective? And this is just rhetorical. You don't have to answer this out loud. But where in your life is there unforgiveness or bitterness or anger? And how has it changed your perspective? Okay? If you truly think about that, you could start to see maybe where some distortions of reality are taking place. The last question, and this is really how we conquer unforgiveness. And I'll give you a couple scriptures to show you how that is. This is really how we conquer unforgiveness, is embracing reality. How do you embrace reality? With this question: what things in your life are you thankful for? Because thankfulness is embracing reality of what is. So what things in your life can you be thankful for? And what's interesting about that question is that when you start to investigate Scripture, it says that all good things comes from the Father, our Father in heaven. So some of these things that are happening in your life that you can be thankful for are gifts of God. We just don't recognize it because we would rather just remain in this distortion. All right, let me give you a couple scriptures. Romans 5:8 says, "But God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." That's something to be thankful for. Because he could have just said, I'm going to wait till you get yourself fixed. I'm going to wait till you don't have any nasty part of your life, and then I'm going to approach you. But he didn't. He approached us as we are. And that's sometimes hard for some of us to swallow. What about Psalms 105, verses 1? It says, not only are we supposed to give thanks in our mind, but Psalm says, "Oh, give thanks to the Lord, call upon his name, and make known his deeds among the people." And this is our very testimony of those things that God is doing good in our life. The things that we can be thankful for are the things that we should be spreading. Just like unforgiveness can spread, forgiveness and thankfulness can spread as well. Either one can spread. So you're either spreading a distortion of reality and buying into it to yourself, or you're buying into the truth of reality. That's why forgiveness is so important. I don't know if y'all have ever heard it that way, that unforgiveness is a distortion of reality, but it certainly is. The more you go on, the more you experience, you'll start to realize this.